ज्ञानमेकं जगद्बीजमाद्यम् निरीहं निराकारमोङ्कारवेद्यम् यतो जायते पाल्यते येन विश्वम् तमीशं भजे लीयते यत्र विश्वम् सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। My very reverential pranams to Srimad Swami Shuddhidananda Ji, Swami Sarvabhutananda Ji, Swami Baneshananda Ji, and all the revered monks assembled here, and my pranams to all of you, dear devotees. God in so many forms. Just now we heard two very interesting speeches on Sri Ramakrishna. From this I am reminded of one statement, not one statement, Swami Vivekananda's statement which he makes in his letters. Recently, Advaita Ashrama published Swami Vivekananda's letters in 4 volumes. In which he repeatedly emphasizes one point. I'm just presenting one profile, one another dimension of this subject which we are engaged with today. Swami Vivekananda in the letters he repeatedly says, let the people take Sri Ramakrishna the way they want to take him. Somebody may call him an avatar. Someone may call him as a Jivan Mukta. Someone may even consider him to be an ordinary saint. It doesn't matter. What really we want is what Vivekananda, what Sri Ramakrishna taught. What is really important is his ideas. That is what I am going to focus upon. We may look upon Sri Ramakrishna in any way we want. It's completely open. When we come to personalities, there is always this issue about who this person was. And this subject can be debated endlessly. But more important than the personality himself, Swami Vivekananda says that often what happens in our race to talk about the person, the ideas which he came from, which he preached, those ideas become buried under dust. I'm just repeating verbatim his words from his letters. The ideas which he came to preach to the entire world, that become buried under the dust. Now, this is a very important statement. Swami Vivekananda is writing from the bosom of his heart. If you just look into Swami Vivekananda's 9 years ministration, from 1893 to the end of his life, 1902. Throughout the 9 years, Vivekananda spoke nothing about, he was speaking only about one thing. Ideas. 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 And what is that root idea? That root idea is nothing but the ideas of the Upanishads. What a great joy it is that today we are celebrating Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, when I look upon Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, I see through the lens of Swami Vivekananda. For me, he is the authority. And when we look at Sri Ramakrishna through the lens and spectacles of Swami Vivekananda, we find Sri Ramakrishna's birthday celebration is the celebration of the Upanishads. What a wonderful thing it is. Why? It is the ideas of the Upanishads alone which can solve the problems, the burning problems of this world. This world which is broken into small fragments, the conflicts, the tensions, the turmoil, the wars, everything has got its root only in one thing: stark ignorance about the truth. We are unaware about what is the real nature of every human being, and that is what Upanishads deal with. Anyway, now certain things are coming to my mind. I'm thankful to my earlier speakers. They have stimulated. I came with certain other ideas, but I shall be touching upon not the person as such, but the ideas to preach which this great phenomenon came in the midst of you and me. Ultimately, that is what really matters. So, you see, when we talk about the Upanishads deal with human consciousness. It is the science of human consciousness, to put it in a very simple manner. Upanishads deal with, it's a science of human consciousness. And in my understanding, Sri Ramakrishna was one of the greatest scientists who experimented, who explored what this consciousness is, and he explored it in innumerable ways. In short, I should say that he was probing into what this consciousness is in as many ways as possible. And in and through all this probing and investigation, experimental investigation, not theoretical, not bookish, he came to certain perennial conclusions. And these conclusions are all the ratification of the conclusions of the Upanishads. Again, I'm taking back Sri Ramakrishna's ideas. They are all nothing but the ideas of our perennial Vedas and the Upanishads. Let us not forget this point. And it is these ideas that really matter to you and matter to me. So, Sri Ramakrishna was one of the greatest scientists, and Upanishads deal with the science of human consciousness. And it is these Upanishadic ideas which is actually speaking going to make a difference in your life, in my life, in the life of the society, in the life of the entire human race. A big point, human race. Now, when we look into the history of the human race, history of India specifically, and when we look at the history of India from spiritual standpoint, I always feel that history of India from the spiritual lens is nothing but the tussle between Jnana Kandam and Karma Kandam. Don't worry about these terms. I will simplify it. I repeat this point once again. This history of India and the whole world for that matter is essentially a tussle between Jnana Kandam and Karma Kandam. The YouTube viewers, this is a live session. People all over the world may be watching it. Many people may not be knowing what is the term. What does this term Karma Kandam and Jnana Kandam mean? To put it in a very simple manner, Karma Kandam means the life of the human being which is completely rooted in this material world and all the actions done selfishly. This is what is known as Karma Kandam. I repeat this point, life of the human being is completely rooted in this world, the world which our senses reveal, and all the actions done selfishly for selfish purposes. This is what is karma kandam. In other words, it is pure materialism, it is bhautikavada. One side. Opposed to this is jnana kandam. What is jnana kandam? Jnana kandam deals with the true nature of the man, the true nature of the woman, and the true nature of this mysterious thing which we are referring to as world. It is the science of consciousness. So put it in a very simple manner, history of the world is the tussle between stark materialism and opposed to it is the science of consciousness which is beyond and behind materialism. And when we look into the social movement of the history, we will see that whenever the society buries itself in karma kandam, whenever the society buries itself in stark materialism with no reference to the science of human consciousness, that is the beginning of social degeneration and disintegration. And at such a scenario, some great spiritual personality appears on the scene and he brings back jnana kandam, he brings back the science of human consciousness and once again revives the society, puts the society on the track of social regeneration and rejuvenation. So throughout the human history, we will find that this tussle is going on. Periodically, every now and then, the society collectively, it buries itself. I'm using the term burying. We totally bury ourselves into materialism without any reference to anything higher. And that is the beginning of social degeneration and disintegration. And at all such junctures, one great spiritual personality comes and he once again revives the science of human consciousness and puts the entire human society on the track of regeneration and rejuvenation. This has happened before the advent of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, we know. The entire Indian subcontinent was drowned in all kinds of rituals, meaningless rituals, outright materialism. Krishna comes and presents to the people the simple religion of higher consciousness and revives. It's a revival. Buddha's time. Just before Buddha's time, what happened? The entire Indian subcontinent was drowned in all kinds of sacrifices, animal sacrifice and this and that and what not, with no reference to anything higher than the so-called the material world. Then Buddha comes and preaches the same teaching of the Upanishads. My dear devotees, see, what I am stressing upon is the ideas for which these great people come. Buddha said, do not worry about me, preach my ideas. Because it is my ideas is that which is going to save the society. It is my ideas which is going to save me and you. And with the advent of Buddha started another revival, with the revival of Jnana Kandam, the science of human consciousness. Shankaracharya, his time, just before his advent, we know what was the condition of Indian subcontinent. Once again, this great teacher comes, churns the ocean of the Vedas and brings back the cream, the idea of the Atman and Brahman. And once again, the society is put back on the track of social rejuvenation, and the story continues for another 1,000 years. Then we come to the 19th century. Now, what was the condition in the 19th century? We all know very well. I don't have to deliberate on that. 19th century situation, especially with the advent of modern physical science, the Western science, the tremendous advancement which the Western world had made in the field of so-called empirical sciences had literally made the human race stray away from everything higher. We were hypnotized to believe that matter is the only reality. Again, I'm repeating this point. It's a very significant point. We were all hypnotized to believe that matter is the only reality. Even now that disease is continuing. If you just look into the Gen Z, present day generation, they're all facing this very problem. They come to us with this very question. Do God really exist? Or is it just a figment of human imagination? Anyhow, 19th century situation, again a spiritual phenomenon is born. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna comes for what? That is the main point. He came to once again revive the Jnana Kandam, the science of human consciousness. What was Sri Ramakrishna's main teaching? I am going to keep my deliberation very small, brief, because this subject can be discussed in numerous ways, unending. So, what was Sri Ramakrishna's teaching? That should be our main concern. Let people look at him the way they want to look at him. Let us not force our ideas on the people. This is Vivekananda's statement. Repeatedly he says this. Vivekananda came, Sri Ramakrishna came to spread the ideas of the Upanishads and the Vedas. And what was Sri Ramakrishna's most important teaching? Sri Ramakrishna's Kathamrit, one of the beautiful works of the modern times, spiritual works. And Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, they range from the most gross to the most sublime, belonging to all the levels, pertaining to people of different levels and different eligibility criteria. And Sri Ramakrishna is giving his Upadesha to everyone. And everyone chooses a particular teaching and thinks that this is his ultimate teaching. Again, everyone is free to take whatever suits him and whatever will help him to progress in spiritual life. That's the beauty of Hindu Dharma and Vedic Dharma. Everyone is free to choose what actually works for that person. Now the question is, what is the most important teaching of Sri Ramakrishna? In my assessment, it is one matam. Matam can be, any number of matams can be there. It is my view that Sri Ramakrishna's most important teaching, but which is least discussed, that is one. Sri Ramakrishna says, now see what he said, it was not meant for only sannyasis. No. He was telling this to the entire humanity. Sri Ramakrishna says, tie the knowledge of Advaita to the corner of your cloth and then lead your daily life. Once again, I repeat this point. It's very, very significant and pertinent. Sri Ramakrishna says, tie the knowledge of Advaita to the corner of your cloth and then lead your life. A very, very significant statement. Actually, it's very interesting. This is a metaphor. In Bangla Amra Boli, it's like a Rupakachi. Now, what is this metaphor? According to this metaphor, Sri Ramakrishna, see, his observation was so brilliant and so sharp. He used to take instances from the day-to-day life of his surrounding, and he used to convey the most sublime ideas in and through those so-called things which he had observed. So, what is this metaphor? In Bengal household, not only in Bengal, this we have seen even in the northern parts of India, housewives. We all know in every household there will be a locker in which all the precious ornaments, jewels, money and everything is kept. That means the most precious thing, everything is locked inside the locker. And the key of the locker will be in the hands of the housewife, the mistress of the house. She holds the key. And she ties that key to the corner of her sari. Sri Ramakrishna had observed this, and we all know this was happening even 3-4 decades back. Present day modern, our sisters would not be doing this, but this was the reality. Women, housewives, the mistress of the house, she would tie the key of the most precious thing in the household to the corner of her cloth, to the corner of her sari. And she will not part with that key even for a single moment, because that is the most precious thing. Look at the beauty of this metaphor. Wonderful, amazing. Just like that housewife would not part with that key which she has tied to her sari. Even while sleeping, she would ensure that that key is not separated from her. She would be protecting that key so diligently. See, Sri Ramakrishna is conveying a brilliant idea. Sri Ramakrishna says, just like this housewife who keeps that key to the most precious thing in the household with her 24/7, not parting with it even for a single moment. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna says, one should place the Advaita Bhava and Advaita Drishti in the depths of our heart and then lead our day-to-day life. What a beautiful teaching it is. This is Sri Ramakrishna's main teaching coming from the Upanishads, coming from Sri Krishna, coming from the great Shankaracharya, and to this day from Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna. This Advaita Drishti is the only Drishti, let me tell you, it may sound a bit fanatic and dogmatic, but truth is truth. It doesn't depend upon anybody else. It is this Advaitic Drishti alone which is the solution to the burning problems of the society today. And what does Advaita teach? My last point. Advaita teaches every jiva is Shiva. Sri Ramakrishna's statement. Shankaracharya, every jiva is Brahmaiva. And what we are referring to as word, this is no word, this is the form of God. It is Brahmaiva, this is Saguna Brahman. There is no other God. Now come back to Swami Vivekananda's teachings. What did Swami Vivekananda teach for the 9 years from 1893 to 1902? Only this one potential divinity of man, the potential divinity of woman. Every man is divine, every woman is divine. Minus this, there is no other God. This is the only idea of God which the Upanishad speaks. So Swamiji says, Bahurupe samukhe tumar, chadiye kothaye khujicho Ishwar. Just imagine the striking nature of his statement. God standing in front of us in so many forms, living this God. Which God is that we are hunting for and searching for? The idea of a temple-centered God is good in the beginning. But everyone will have to graduate from that standpoint and begin to see the divinity, one divinity throbbing in everybody. This was Sri Ramakrishna's main teaching. Let us focus upon this teaching. Personality, it's your choice. You can debate. You can argue this way and that way, and there is no end to it. But this teaching is incontrovertible, indubitable. No one can deny one's own potential divinity. It is this potential divinity which is going to solve my individual problem. It is going to solve your individual problem. It is this Divya Drishti which is going to solve the problems of your family, your relationships. Everything becomes deified. Everything is taken to a high level. This is the only one, this one Drishti which can integrate the entire human society into one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. To tell this teaching is Sri Ramakrishna's advent. Let us once again go back to the main point. Sri Ramakrishna came to revive the Jnana Kandam. As Shankaracharya so beautifully says in his Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, as my earlier speaker also referred to it, Dvivido hi vedokta dharmaha pravarti lakshanaha nivriti lakshanascha jagata sthiti karanam praninam sakshad abhyudaya nishrayasa hetu. Immortal words. Shankaracharya says this pravarti lakshana, karma kanda, and nivriti lakshana, jnana kanda. When there is only karma kanda with no reference to jnana kanda, the society loses its stability, sthiti. If we have to bring back that stability, we have to bring back the balance between Jnana Kandam and Karma Kandam. And when there is a balance between Jnana Kandam and Karma Kandam, that becomes the Sakshat Hetu. That becomes the cause. Cause of what? Abhyudaya and Nishrayasa. So beautiful. Material prosperity and spiritual illumination. This was the philosophy of the Upanishads. This was the philosophy of Sri Krishna, this was the philosophy of Shankaracharya, and this was the thing to demonstrate which this great spiritual phenomenon was born in the 19th century. Thank you so much.